Hi friends, today for our read aloud lesson we're going to be reading the traditional version of Little Red Riding Hood. This story that I'm going to share with you today is probably most like the version that you have heard before if you know this story. And we're going to focus today on learning the story elements. When we talk about story elements, there's four important things that we want to pay attention to. Number one, who is in the story? Who are the characters? So we want to figure out who is in this story. Number two is the setting, where the story takes place. Number three is the problem, what goes wrong in the story. And number four is the solution. How does the problem get fixed? For this book today, we're going to be making a story map of those different story elements because later this week, when we read some of the funnier versions of our fairy tales, we're going to be comparing the books and seeing how they are the same and how they are different. This first version is called Little Red Riding Hood by Mara Alprin, illustrated by Loretta Shower. Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood. Once there was a little girl who loved to wear red. She had red shirts and red skirts, red shoes, and a fabulous bright red cloak. Her name was Little Red Riding Hood. Early one morning, Little Red's mother packed up a basket. "I have a very special job for you," she told Little Red. "Granny is feeling poorly. Will you take her this fresh fruit?" "Of course," cried Little Red, and she put on her favorite cloak and kissed her mother goodbye. It was a bright, sunny day, and Little Red skipped through the woods. "Good morning," she called to the rabbits and the deer. "I'm bringing Granny a special surprise." But someone was peeping from behind a tree. A big, hungry wolf. "Good day," growled the wolf. "What are you doing in the woods all alone?" "I'm taking the special basket of fruit to Granny," Little Red replied. Yuck, thought the wolf. He didn't like fruit. He liked to eat tasty little girls. So the wolf thought up a plan, a horrible, clever plan. "Why not pick Granny some lovely flowers?" he said. "Good idea," said Little Red. But as she started gathering daisies, the wolf raced down the path towards Granny's house. The wolf knocked on Granny's door with a thud, thud, thud. "Is that you, Little Red, my dear?" called Granny. "Yes," squeaked the wolf. "Let me in. It's breakfast time." "Oh, goody," said Granny, opening the door. "What are we having for breakfast?" "You!" cried the wolf. "Ah!" yelled Granny. "You're not Little Red." And she slammed the door right on his big furry nose. "Ow, ow, 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 ow," hollered the wolf. Quick as a flash, Granny ran out of the back door and into the woods to find help. "Horrid old Granny," the wolf growled, rubbing his nose. But now he could put his terrible plan into action. So when Little Red knocked tap, tap, tap on Granny's door, it was a deep, scratchy voice that answered. "Come in, my dear." Little Red walked into Granny's bedroom and stopped in surprise. "Why, Granny," she said slowly, "what big ears you have." "The better to hear you with, my dear," croaked the wolf. "And Granny," Little Red said carefully, "what big, hairy arms you have. The better to hug you with, my dear, growled the wolf. But Granny, Little Red whispered, what big teeth you have. The better to eat you with, my dear, snarled the wolf, and he pounced at Little Red. Just at that moment, the door burst open. In rushed Granny with the woodcutter. Stop right there, yelled Granny. Put her down, bellowed the woodcutter. With a terrified howl, the wolf jumped out of the window and ran far, far away, never to return. Little Red hugged Granny tight. I'm so glad you chased that wolf away, she said, and she gave Granny the basket of fruit. What a day of excitement, laughed Granny. Now let's all have breakfast. The end. For our activity today, you're going to be making a story map for this book. So for that activity, try to remember the characters, the setting, the problem, and the solution.